Greetings to all our travel advisor partners and friends. As you can see, I'm still working from home, but I will soon be back in the office as one more indication that we are emerging from this horrible period. Fortunately, it's only one of many positive indicators, but the situation is complex and I think it's worthy of a little bit of a discussion. What a roller coaster ride it's been. Every day seems to bring dramatic news of one kind or another. Some positive, some negative, but it's always dramatic. We were despondent at the beginning of the year when the pandemic was at its height. Then we got excited when we started reopening in June, and bookings matched our euphoria. Then came the Delta variant, which has caused such turmoil and hurt our bookings so much. I'm not an epidemiologist, but I do get to listen to a lot of experts, and my personal view is that while some things will get better and some things will get worse, overall the trajectory remains firmly on course. Let me explain. First, damn this Delta variant. It's far more contagious than the unmutated virus and has caused a third wave just when we all thought that the disease was on its last legs. Even though the vaccines are very effective against Delta, this variant is so infectious that it sometimes even gets through the vaccines. Imagine how awful it would be if we didn't have the vaccines. Fortunately, the vaccines are working, and even better than people expected. They are keeping most of us from getting the disease, and the breakthrough cases that are occurring are milder and less dangerous. The figures show that a person vaccinated is 10 times less likely to get seriously ill with COVID, and the protection against death is even stronger. As a result, we're seeing cases beginning to drop off. Here's a chart showing the cases coming down in the US. The chart not only shows that cases are falling, it also shows that the severity of cases is declining. Fewer cases are getting sick enough to result in hospitalizations and deaths. The current peak is almost 5 times as many cases as the wave last May, but just over half as many fatalities. That's a dramatic fall in severity. And since fatality cases lag by a couple of weeks, we will see even better trends on that shortly. Clearly, the vaccines are limiting the damage, and science is doing a great job of treating the cases that do occur. That's all very encouraging, but there are several reasons that the decline this autumn may be more gradual and not as sharp. Firstly, schools are just starting up, both for K through 12 and for college. Secondly, we're just entering flu season when viruses tend to spread. And lastly, the states that were worst hit in the beginning of this wave are falling quickly, but the spread is now heading to the northern states, and those states could become new hotspots. Countering all this, we're now only a few weeks away from authorizing the vaccines in younger children. Since a quarter of all cases are now occurring in those kids, this development should also be a big help. It's a lot of pluses and minuses, and I know it's a bit wonky, but the net result of all these factors should result in a decline in cases over coming months. The decline may not be as fast as we would like, but it should be steady, and it augurs well for a strong and consistent recovery. So that's my view on how the figures will look as we move towards the end of the year. A strong, steady, positive trend. That's important, but it's only part of the story. We need to look beyond the abstract numbers to understand what our world will actually look like. While it's important to understand the figures on cases, etc., it's just as important to acknowledge that science alone can't answer how society should or will respond to these trends. Society has to find the right balance. Ultimately, while science can advise us of the numerical consequences of our actions, it's up to us as sentient beings to assess how much risk we're willing to accept. The ultimate answer depends very much on the social, political decisions that are made. And I think society around the world has made clear where that balance lies. It involves certain precautions, but also accepting reasonable risk of contracting the disease, just as we do with every other risk in our lives. Society isn't willing to accept the terrible losses that would occur if we simply took zero precautions. But it's also abundantly clear that people are simply not willing to make the sacrifice to their quality of life that would be required to completely eliminate such risk. We believe that is the balance society has chosen, and we're seeing that every day in so many ways. People are getting out, going to restaurants, visiting with family and friends, traveling here and abroad, and yes, taking cruises. Our focus is therefore on 2022, not the remaining months of 2021. Obviously, we don't like giving up on any period, but we are more determined to do well in 22 and 23, even if that means accepting short-term hits this year. You all know that we're sailing with significantly reduced load factors in 2021 for several reasons. Firstly, we wanted to be extra cautious during our starting period. We also have felt the impact of air travel restrictions, especially between countries, because so much of our business relies on international travel. And we made a deliberate decision to get more ships operating sooner, even when that means each ship operates at a very low occupancy for a few months. We have two overriding goals. Firstly, key to our success in 2022 will be wave period. And to have a good wave, we need to show that we go into wave with a solid and stable operation. That means by December, we want stability, none of the confusion and endless changes that we have been experiencing and that is so frustrating to you and your clients. By the end of this year, we want virtually all of our ships to be operating and operating seamlessly in our core markets. Your clients need to know that we're back, and they need to know that the turmoil of the last 18 months is behind us. The second goal was we wanted to show in a tangible way how safe and healthy cruising is. We're doing that today, not by theory, not by prediction, but by actual operations. Already, 2/3 of our capacity is operating. We have carried over 500,000 guests and only had 141 cases amongst those 500,000 people. As we have always said, there will be cases aboard a ship, just as there are cases on shore. But because of our protocols, there haven't been any big outbreaks, and the few cases we have seen have been managed quickly and effectively. By the end of November, we will have carried over 1 million guests, and that's just one cruise company. Well, albeit the best cruise company. Of course, sorry, I couldn't resist, but we can't hide the truth. This has been our objective for some time, to make sure that cruising can be safer than Main Street USA. There are very few places on Earth that can institute the protective protocols that the cruise industry can implement. As a result, we believe that our industry, all of it, including the Royal Caribbean Group, as well as those other companies I hope you're ignoring, we are all seeing and will continue to see a terrific track record during this period. Isolated cases, yes. Big outbreaks, no. The signs are very encouraging. Bookings for 2022 demonstrate that there is pent-up demand. We're about to return to our offices, which have remained empty for over a year and a half. Interestingly, we decided a while ago that we would require vaccination of our office employees, just as we do of our seafarers. In the beginning, most of our employees agreed with that requirement, but a little over 20% said they were not willing to get the shot. Over the last couple of months, we've worked with them and provided those who wanted it with expert advice and data. The deadline for committing to get vaccinated was last week, and 96% of our people agreed. Fewer than 4% of our staff have declined to get vaccinated. We don't want to lose any employees, but I'm gratified that the vast majority of our team will have made this choice for themselves and for their fellow employees. So we are psyched. Our cruises are ramping up and already 2/3 of our capacity is operating. Our protocols are working and protecting our guests and crew. Our guests are thrilled to be back and their satisfaction rates are at historical highs. We will shortly be returning to our offices where, like our ships, just about everyone is vaccinated. And we're stepping up our marketing to prepare for wave period. In sum, We're excited about the way forward and confident that the darkest days are behind us as we set our sights on a strong wave and a powerful 2022. Getting there is still going to take fortitude, but we all need to take the steps now to prepare. Of course, I need to remind you that preparing for 22 also means washing your hands and getting your vaccine.